All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Asia-Pacific Stats Café series. My name is Suvarnaratai, Associate Statistician at the Statistics Division ESCAP, and your moderator for today's Stats Cafe, which focuses on Asia and the Pacific regional trends on forced displacement and statelessness and national experience in that space as well. ASCAP is co-organizing today's Stats Cafe with our wonderful colleagues from the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR. We're pleased to have great speakers from, of course, UNHCR, National Statistics Office of Thailand, and BPS Statistics Indonesia, who will share with us some details and insights on the latest trend for forced displacement and statelessness and national efforts to integrate stateless people, refugees, and internally displaced people, IDPs, in civil registration and vital statistics, census, and national survey. So we will start off with a presentation by Mr. Chao Huang on the latest trends on forced displacement and statelessness in Asia and the Pacific. Mr. Chao is the Statistics and Data Analysis Officer at the Regional Bureau for Asia and the Pacific, UNHCR, based in Bangkok, Thailand, and he serves as the focal point for official statistics reporting, household surveys, the implementation of international guidelines on refugees, IDP, and statelessness statistics, and collaboration with national statistical offices and partner. So, Chao, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ross, and good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to make the presentation about the UNHCR's Asia-Pacific regional trend on fourth largest group of some applicants. Before I started the presentation, please allow me to show a short video.
Today we launch our regional trends reports. The report highlights the official figures of the forcibly displaced people in our region in the Asia and the Pacific. Unfortunately, the figures are not good. Of 120 million forcibly displaced in the world, nearly 16 million people are hosted in our region. The refugees are hosted in generous countries like Bangladesh, Iran, and Pakistan. And behind these numbers are people like you and me, with stories of courage, resilience, and hope. Let us remember these individuals today and remind us that what we see today is not a refugee crisis, but critical situations that requires political action and efforts to secure peace. Let us use these numbers and the stories behind them as a call to action for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me switch to my presentation. Okay. You already saw the video from the UNHCR Director for Asia and Pacific regarding the report's release. The UNHCR's Asia and the Pacific Regional Trend Report is an annual statistical report with a focus on the key figures and findings for the forced displacement and statelessness. As you may know, UNHCR, or the UN Refugee Agency, is a global organization dedicated to saving lives, protecting rights, and building a better future for people who are forced to flee their homes because of conflict and persecution. And we lead the international action to protect refugees, asylum seekers, internally displaced people, and stateless people. Before I present the figures, I just want to explain a little bit about the terminologies. For example, refugees. Refugees are the people who flee conflict, persecution, and human rights abuses who have crossed a border into another country. Also, asylum seekers are the individuals who have fled their country of origin and applied for asylum in another country, but their claim to refugee status has not yet been processed. You might also heard the term internally displaced people or IDPs, who are the people who have been forced to flee from their homes. However, unlike refugees, they remain in their own country. And the last terminology is stateless people. Stateless people are those who are not considered as nationals by any state and the operations of its law. In other words, they do not possess any nationalities from any state. Let's start with a regional overview for Asia-Pacific. So by the end of 2023, the number of people who are forcibly displaced, stateless, returnees, or others of concern to UNHCR in the region of Asia-Pacific stood at 15.7 million. This figure includes 7.7 million refugees and asylum seekers, 6 million internally displaced people or IDPs induced by conflict. Please note that UNHCR statistics only recorded the IDPs induced by conflict. We are using other data sources for the IDPs induced by natural disaster. The 15.7 million also included almost 500,000 IDP returnees, means IDP who returned to their home, but still they might need assistance to settle down. And also we have 2.5 million stateless people. These figures included displaced stateless people. So the stateless people can also be forcibly displaced. And if we look at some other statistics, for example, the countries who are hosting the refugees in the region, we found that almost 99% of the refugees are hosted in low and middle income countries. And also 94% refugees in the region are hosted in countries neighboring the country of origin. So it means most of the refugees didn't travel far, but stay in the neighboring countries to their country of origin. And if we look at disaggregate data by age and sex, we found some other interesting statistics as well. It's almost 50% or 49% of the 15.7 million forcibly displaced and stateless people are children, almost double compared to the proportion of children in the region, where the children make up 27% of the region's general population. The chart in the left shows some detailed figures by the different population types, and with a comparison of the 2023 figure to 2022. And we can see that for almost all of the population types, there is an increase during 2023. And also, if we look at the populations in the last decade, we found that there has been a steady increase since 2014, with the highest number of record in 2023. And this, compared to 2022, the increase is almost 10%. And if compared to 10 years ago, 2014, it's over 80% increase. And let's dive more deeply into population types. Let's first look at the refugees and people in refugee-like situations. So if we look at the refugees by the country of origin, we found that Afghanistan is the largest country of origin of refugees, not just in the Asia-Pacific region, but at global level. More than 6.4 million Afghans are hosted in 108 countries globally. And this number is 13% of increase from 2022. And among the 6.4 million Afghans who are refugees or refugee-like, 5.8 million are hosted in the Asia-Pacific region. And also Myanmar is the second largest country of origin for Asia-Pacific region. And if you look at the countries who are hosting those refugee populations, we found that the Islamic Republic of Iran remains the largest refugee hosting country, again, not just in the region, but globally. And most refugees and people in refugee-like situations in Iran are Afghans, which is in line with our statistics that most of the refugees stayed in their in the neighboring countries to their country of origin. UNHCR is also custodian the SDG indicator 1074, which stands for the proportion of countries' population who become refugees. This indicator is a useful way to identify the countries of origin with the most refugees relative to the number of inhabitants. And this figure is calculated by the number of refugees from that country divided by their inhabitants, but it's in every 100,000. For example, Afghanistan had the largest proportion of their national population become refugees within the region. So there are 13,000 refugees per 100,000 inhabitants. And Myanmar is a second country. And also here we listed the top 5 countries according to this SDG indicator. For asylum seekers, Afghanistan is the largest country of origin for asylum seekers in Asia-Pacific region. And Australia is the country hosting most asylum seekers in the Asia-Pacific region. The EUAA, or the European Union Agency for Asylum, did some analysis, particularly for Afghans. According to UAA report, Afghans, or 114,000 applications, remain the second largest group of some applicants in EU plus countries during 2023, only behind Syrians. And Afghans lodged 11% fewer applications than in 2022. And also, there are 72,000 Afghans pending cases at the end of 2023 in the EU plus countries. And the recognition rate in average in EU plus countries for Afghans was 61. Other data sources, among every 100 applications for asylum, 61 of them are recognized as refugees. For the internally displaced persons or IDPs, our statistics shows that IDPs account for nearly 40% of all the people UNHCR protects or assists in the region. If we look at the IDP trends in Asia Pacific in the last 5 years, we can find that the total number of IDPs increased from 3.2 million in 2019 to 6 million in 2023. And again, Afghanistan and Myanmar are the 2 countries with most conflict-induced IDPs. In Afghanistan, the number of IDPs decreased slightly, but in Myanmar, there are a lot of new displaced IDPs, which is almost 1.4 million in 2023. And the other 2 countries with most new internally displacement are Philippines and Papua New Guinea. Actually, the internal displacement trend in Myanmar continues to increase significantly during 2024, with the number of internally displaced people reaching a record high of 3.3 million as of July 2024. As I mentioned, UNHCR statistics only recorded IDPs induced by conflicts, but we rely on the other data sources for the displacement in the context of climate change and disasters. And also UNHCR provided protection and assistance to internally displaced people who are caused by disasters. And the alternative data source is from IDMC, or the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center. From their global report on the internal displacement in 2024, we found that China, Philippines, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Pakistan have the most internal displacements during the year of 2023. And by the end of 2023, Afghanistan and Pakistan has most IDPs at the end of the year. And also China, Philippines, and Bangladesh were amongst the top 5 countries globally reporting the highest figures of internal displacement due to the natural disasters during 2023. For stateless people, as I've mentioned, there are in total 2.5 million stateless people in the region, which is 57% of the global stateless population. Globally, there are 4.4 million stateless people. Also, the stateless people who can also be forcibly displaced. So in this map, we displayed the number of stateless people by country. And from the map, we can find that Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Thailand are the countries with most stateless people. And also, we distinguished the non-displaced stateless and the displaced stateless. The numbers in blue are the non-displaced stateless, where most of them stayed in Myanmar and Thailand, and the orange figure are the displaced stateless. Means they are stateless refugees or stateless asylum seekers or stateless IDPs. And from the map, we can find that Bangladesh and Myanmar have the most displaced stateless people. And if we from these two charts also listed the details of the number of stateless people in Asia-Pacific by countries. I'm not going to I'm going to read all of the detailed numbers, but you can see from the list that the countries with most stateless people in the Pacific region, and also most of the stateless, or 69% of stateless people in the region, are Rohingyas. From the previous statistics by population type, we found that most of the forced displaced people are actually from Afghanistan and Myanmar. So we put 2 highlights for Afghanistan situation and Myanmar situation. For Afghanistan situation, globally, there are more than 10 million people Afghans protected or assisted by UNHCR, which includes 6.4 million Afghan refugees and Afghans who are in the refugee-like situations, and almost 300,000 Afghan asylum seekers and 3.2 million Afghan internally displaced. And most of the Afghans who are forced displaced are actually stayed in a specific region. On almost 9.2 million, or 92% of the global Afghans stayed in a specific region. And also, most of the Afghans stayed in just 3 Southwest Asia countries: Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan. And also, if we look at the trend for Afghans in the past 5 years, we can find a clear increase from 2019 to 2023. For Myanmar situation, globally, there are 4.7 million people from Myanmar protected or assisted by UNHCR, which include almost 1.3 million refugees, distinguished the non-displaced 54,600 asylum seekers, and 2.6 million internally displaced people in 2023. And similar to Afghanistan situation, most, or 99.7% of people from Myanmar protected or assisted by UNHCR stayed in the Asia-Pacific region. The numbers on the right display some details of for IDPs in Myanmar and also the countries with Rohingya populations according to UNHCR statistics. UNHCR has been advocating statistical inclusion of the forcibly displaced and the stateless people in national statistics. And statistical inclusion is a mechanism to help implement and access the process towards the global compact on refugees, and is key to keeping the central promise of 2030 agenda for sustainable development to leave no one behind. So the statistical inclusion will help improve the quality and quantity of nationally produced data and evidence needed to inform the design of programs and policies to improve the protection and well-being of those vulnerable populations. And UNHCR is using the following international recommendations on statistics to support the national statistics offices for the statistical inclusion of forcibly displaced and stateless people in national systems. Those are the international recommendations on refugee statistics, RRS, internal recommendations on internally displaced persons of statistics, IRIS, and the internal recommendations on stateless statistics, IROS. And also we have been engaging with Thailand and Indonesia NSOs on statistics inclusion, who will also do the presentations about their work in this field. And also, if there are any other national statistics offices want to know more about statistics inclusion, please feel free to reach out to UNHCR, and we're willing to support including the forcibly displaced people and the stateless people in the national surveys, census, and other statistical activities. I think I will stop here and I give the floor back to Rose. Thank you.
Thank you, Chao, for sharing with us the latest trend on forced displacement and statelessness in the region. Yes, of course, it's very alarming indeed, and it just emphasized the call for action that that was shown earlier at the Stats Café. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Tasani Ondam to share NSO of Thailand's experience in including stateless people in CRVS and census. Ms. Tasani is a statistician, professional level at the Demographic and Population Statistics Group, Social Statistics Division at the National Statistical Office of Thailand. She is currently responsible for conducting the population and housing census in Thailand. Ms. Tasani, you now have the floor.
I'm going to read all of the
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tasani Ondam, and I am a statistician at the National Statistical Office of Thailand. Today, I would like to talk about the population and housing census in Thailand, the analysis of stateless persons. I will start with historical of population and housing census in Thailand. Population and housing census, the variable used to analyze and identify stateless persons. Result of population and housing census, the 2025 population and housing census, and challenges. This slide shows you historical accuracy in Thailand. Historical background of the population and housing census in Thailand. Thailand had a long history of conducting population census, starting at yearly at 1909. Initially, these census were carried out under the Ministry of Interior until 1947. Since establishing the NSO in 1952, we have been responsible for conducting the population and housing census. In 2010, Thailand celebrated the 100th anniversary of conducting its population census. In 2020, the census was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which gave us an opportunity to plan a more modern approach for the 2025 census. This next census will be hopeful to be conducted in a fully digital format. The collection of data for the population and housing census has evolved significantly over the decades. In 1990 and 2000, the process relied exclusively on face-to-face interview. By 2010, the methodology expanded to include not only face-to-face interview, but also a telephone interview center, a web application, and intelligent character recognition. Looking ahead to 2025, the approach will prioritize a digital
protected or assisted by UNHCR.
Citizen to complete the questionnaire through various digital platforms. Let me talk about coverage. The 2025 population census aims to include all individuals who are residing in Thailand on census day, April 1, 2025, under specific criteria. Population include in coverage all Thai citizens residing in Thailand on the census day, Thai or non-Thai who usually live in Thailand but temporarily outside the country on the census day. All military servants, defenses, civil servants, and Thai diplomats, including their family, of which their station were outside of Thailand. Non-Thai who reside in Thailand at least 3 months before the census day. Population not included in coverage, non-Thai, military servants, defenses, civil servants, and diplomats, including their family, of which their station were inside Thailand. Non-Thai who live in Thailand less than 3 months before the census day. Refugee or illegal migrants who live in the refugee camp. Housing coverage, all or dwelling where people live such as private house, building, public housing, room in office, domicile under bridges. The data collected from the population and housing census in 2000 and 2010 includes information on both population and household, as well as housing data. For the year 2000, the data were collected in similar manner to 2010. Some questions were not included. A stateless person is defined as a person who is not considered a nationality by any state under operation of its law. The variable used to analyze an identity stateless person include nationality and place of birth. Result of the 2000 population and housing census revealed that 99.5%
Guns stayed in Asia-Pacific,
while 0.4% had unknown nationality. Similarly, results from the 2010 population and housing census showed that 99.8% of individuals were nationalized, 0.1% were without nationality, and 0.003 had unknown nationality. According to the 2000 population and housing census, the number of individuals with an unknown nationality in Thailand total around 288,000, including around 134,000 male and around 154,000 female. According to the 2010 population and housing census, the number of without nationality persons in Thailand is around 117,000, including around 60,000 male and around 56,000 female. And when considering by region, it was found that the number of without nationality persons is highest in the northern region. The number of unknown nationality persons in Thailand total 2,147, with 1,079 male and 1,068 female. And when considering the region, it is observed that Bangkok has a high number of unknown nationalities. We are not yet certain whether this classification can reliably determine statelessness. Result of the 2000 Population and Housing Census revealed that 99.3% of individuals had a known country of birth, 0.1% had an unknown country of birth, and 0.4% as unknown. Similarly, results from the 2010 Population and Housing Census show that 98.5% of individuals at a known country of birth, 0.001% at an unknown country of birth, and 1.4% at unknown. This is number of unknown country of birth. The 2025 Population and Housing Census will prioritize the use of the digital platform, allowing citizens to complete the questionnaire online. This approach makes it easy for people to participate, providing the convenience of responding from their own computer, tablet, or smartphone. Enumerators will use digital tools, such as tablet and smartphone, to record responses. Data will be collected on population and housing, and there will still be questions about nationality. Additionally, digital technology will be employed for data processing, analysis, and presentation of results. This slide shows you challenge. The challenge in collecting data on stateless persons includes several factors. Individuals may be unwilling to disclose their identity or participate in the questionnaire. The language barrier during communication or data collection can complicate the process, and remote areas that are difficult to access further hinder data capturing efforts. That's all about my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tassani. It's good to see Thailand's approach in including stateless people and displaced people in the census as well, and to see your thinking for the next census, which will be in 2025. I would also like to remind everyone that if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will get to them after our final presentation, which we will get to, and it's by Mr. Urai Naviandi, and he's going to share Indonesia's experience in including refugees, IDPs, and stateless people in national survey. Mr. Urai is a senior statistician at BPS Statistics Indonesia. He is the project leader for the preparation of Indonesia Intercensus Population Survey 2025. The floor is yours, Mr. Urai.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ruth, for the time and the opportunity. Good morning, everyone. My name is Urai. I'm a senior statistician in BPS Statistics Indonesia, and I will, with my colleagues, that will be help me to share the screen. Ibu Dia, can you share the screen, please? Okay, Bu Dia, can you?
Yes, but not yet.
Sorry, Mr. Ruth, maybe you can give the access to Ibu Dia.
Yeah, I have the access, but I don't know what's wrong. Kenapa kok nggak bisa ya? Kok nggak bisa ya? Tadi bisa loh padahal.
Buka open.
If you have trouble, I can share the slides from my side as well.
I think I have difficulty in sharing file. I'm not sure what
for IDP.
to please help.
It's okay. I can share from my side too, and then you can just let me know which slides to go to. Just say next, and then I'll share. I'll go to the next slide. That's right. That's all right as well.
Wait.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rod. Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to present about Indonesia experience in population data collection from census and survey, including vulnerable person like refugees, asylum seeker, and stateless people. Next slide, please. Yes. BPS or Statistik Indonesia plays a crucial role in providing data for the SDGs in Indonesia. BPS commit to innovative data production and application to support the provision of SDGs indicator. We are responsible to produce 114 or 39.4% or of the 289 national SDGs indicator. BPS is working on developing model to meet the needs of the disaggregation and more detailed granularity in data. We are exploring and utilizing the new data source to enhance its data provision and coordinating with the ministries and the government agency to ensure the provision of the SDGs indicator through the One Data Indonesian policy. However, there is still a need for further development, especially in terms of the disaggregation and data on the refugees. For the example, BPS is currently unable to provide data for the SDGs indicator in target 10.7.4, which measure the proportion of the population who are refugees by country or origin. Next slide. There are some limitations on BPS data collection in terms of providing specific information on refugees, asylum seeker, and stateless people. While BPS collect data on the general population, including foreigner, it doesn't have a dedicated focus on this vulnerable group. Therefore, gathering data on the refugees, asylum seeker, and stateless people can be challenging due to their often undocumented or illegal status. This makes it difficult to accurately identify and track this population. BPS never specifically collect data related to refugees, asylum seeker, or stateless people in Indonesia. However, through the population census and survey, we collect population data who are Indonesian citizen and the foreigner who have resided in Indonesia for 1 year or more, and or those who have lived for less than 1 year but plan to stay for at least 1 year. There are some concept of definition of the refugees. Maybe you can see in the slide about the refugees, asylum seeker, internally displaced person, and stateless people that I quote from the UNHCR. Next slide.
The following international.
Like Thailand talking before, Indonesia has been conducted population census for 7 times and the intercensal population survey for several times. Indonesian population census cover whole population of Indonesia, whereas the intercensal population survey only covers some sample of household in Indonesia. Based on the last Indonesian population census, the total population of Indonesian in 2020 are around 270 million people. It could be one of that population is considered as a refugees, asylum seeker, internally displaced person, and stateless people, if they meet the requirement of the concept and definition. Next slide. Now, from this slide, I just want to inform that based on the Indonesian population census, the number of the non-citizen of foreign nationality only 0.031% from total population in 2010. This is very small population or number. The number of foreign people around 73,000 people, and majority of the foreign people were concentrated in Jakarta, West Java, East Java, Bali, East Nusa Tenggara, and South Sumatra in province in Indonesia. And when we see by demographic characteristic, most of them are female, which is 61.74%, and children, male, which is 61.94%.
Aries, and the internal
20.10%. And in the right side, in the last our population census, which is the long-form population in 2020, the number of the non-citizen only 0.01%. From that percentage, top 10 international migrant stock by nationality are from China, from South Korea, Timor-Leste, Malaysia, India, Singapore, Japan, Australia, Philippines, and America. Next slide. Now, if we compare with the UNHCR data, at the right side, in the term of the number of the foreign citizens in Indonesia is greater than the number of vulnerable persons that collected by the UNHCR in Indonesia. It means that
is Thailand, and
it is possible that part of the foreign citizen recorded in the population census also fall into the category of the vulnerable person. And then if we look at the left side, based on the refugees data collected by the UNHCR, it appears that most refugees are come from Afghanistan, Myanmar, China, Iran, and Sri Lanka. When we compare to the migrant stock that from the long-form population census that I showing before, only China occupies that the some proportion as one of the largest group of the foreign national in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Yeah, these slides aim to demonstrate the one method to identify potential refugees is by examining their reason of the migration. Based on the 2020 long-form population census, indicates that the approximately 6.54% of the foreign national residing in Indonesia because of the security concern or conflict as their primary reason for migration, while 0.78% mention reallocation or eviction, and 0.75% migrate due to disaster or environmental damage. A geographical analysis reveals that this migration pattern are dispersed across various provinces and islands within Indonesia. You can see the map. This is the place where is the some of the non-citizen or foreign national that immigration in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Now, there are some challenges for including forcibly displaced person and stateless people in survey. The first one, methodology sampling must be designed to include forcibly displaced person and stateless people.
Activities.
Offer the location where they are likely to be found. The second one, enumerator training should cover the materials for forcibly displaced and stateless people, including the relevant definition and the concept, practical consideration, and data protection. These first two challenges not yet implemented in survey in Indonesia. But for the third one, which is the including question to identify forcibly displaced person and stateless people, in the questionnaire of the census and survey in Indonesia, we are design already implemented this question in some survey in Indonesia. Next slide. Yeah, this is our experience in Indonesia, how to mechanism to identify data of refugees, asylum seeker are using question about the citizens, migration history, and forced to migrate could be gathered from long-form population census 2020 and from intercensal population survey that will be held in 2025. But the question related to that, you can see the question about the citizen migration history that we ask in our questionnaire in our census or our survey. Whereas the information about the legal status, refugees, ID card on or UNHCR certificate letter could not be provided from census and survey in Indonesia. Next slide. And when you see this slide, the same mechanism also applied in identification data of the internally displaced people. The information about the migration history, reason of migration could be collected from the census and survey in Indonesia. And the last, next slide. And the last, in the identification data of stateless people, we could identify stateless people by question related to citizenship, country of birth, ethnicity from census and survey that we have in Indonesia. However, the information related to the documentation and immigration status could not be collected in the survey or census in Indonesia. And the last slide, this is and from my previous presentation, it could be concluded that the first one is the strong legal basis is essential for conducting a successful census and survey, especially for collecting data for refugees, asylum seeker, and stateless people. The second one, survey with a household sample approach has a few weaknesses in capturing refugees, asylum seeker, or stateless people, because potentiality do not enumeration in the refugees camp. Because in our survey in Indonesia that BPS held, we using the household as a frame for the survey. The third one is a specific survey methodology is needed to obtain accurate data for refugees, asylum seeker, or stateless people. Sampling design should consider to include forcibly displaced and stateless people by adapting to cover the location where they are likely to be found. And then additional questions are needed on census or survey questionnaire. It must be designed to identify forcibly displaced and stateless person. And then for the training, the enumerator should be trained about the concept of the forcibly displaced and stateless population. The training should also include how to handle distrustful or fearful respondent, as well as about data confidentiality and data privacy. And last, BPS or Statistik Indonesia needs to gain a better understanding of the data on refugees, stateless person, and internally displaced person to consider including this aspect in the future survey or censuses. Therefore, it will be helpful if UNHCR could provide aggregated data or arrange another meeting or capacity building for us to discuss in this further. I think I will finish my presentation. I give the floor back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Urai, for sharing Indonesia's experience to integrate stateless people, forcibly displaced population in Indonesia and in both the census and survey. Of course, you know, it's an evolving sphere, and it's good to know that BPS Indonesia is already planning to do just that in the future. We've come to the end of our presentation, so we've now moved on to our Q&A session. So if you have any question on any of our presentations earlier, please either use the raise hand function on MS Team or put your question in the chat. I had a quick look earlier and I believe there is no question at the moment, but I am looking again just to see if I miss any question. I believe there's no
I just put in a question, Rolf.
Okay, so we have a question from our chief, Petra. What's the greatest challenge in collecting statistics on these population? I believe, you know, it goes to everyone who is presented. So anyone who would like to take that on first, please go ahead.
Maybe I can try to answer first, and colleagues from ASOs can add their perspectives. Thanks for the question. It's a very excellent question. So the greatest challenge in collecting statistics on these populations, the first one, I think, particularly for the National Statistics offices, the barrier of the legal system is one of the most challenging barriers for the collecting the data. When we talk about collecting data or statistics, actually it's affected a lot by the legal system. And also in many countries, the national statistics offices are not the one who make a decision to include the refugees, stateless people, IDPs in the data collection activities. So I think that's one of the barriers. Another one from technical side, the challenge would be the identification of these populations. It also depends on the context of the country, and although there are some international recommendations on statistics for the data collection, but in practice, we need to adjust the methodologies and also the questionnaires for the data collection based on the real situation of that country. And for that, UNHCR is willing to support the countries to tackle those challenges. Over from my side. Thanks.
Thank you, Chao. Mr. Orai, while we have you on the screen, would you like to share your experience as well?
Yeah, I think it's same with the Chao said. The first one is our challenge for collecting data about the refugees, and the other is the legal policy, because in Indonesia we still not concerned about the data collection about the refugees, because there are some legal policy about the refugees in Indonesia. Responsibility by Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and BPS Statistics Indonesia not to responsible to collect the data. So if the legal policy can be changed or can be suitable for the collecting data for refugees or etc., I think it will a good good chance for BPS to collect this information. The second one is methodology, because I think it must be a specific survey to collect the information about the refugees, asylum seeker, or the etc. Because in Indonesia, we conducting the survey based on the household approach. And when we use the sampling frame from the survey, we usually using the approach the household based on the education of the household and based on the identification of the mortality in the household and the etc. Because when we talking about the refugees, the distribution of the refugees is in Indonesia, I think is very disparate in several provinces. So if we only use the common methodology, we cannot capture the refugees or the asylum seeker in Indonesia. So we must have basic data, maybe that basic data from the UNHCR that I said before. UNHCR can give us the data, and we can use this for the database or for the playlist for us to collecting the another information in the fields. So I think we must to create the good methodology in survey to capture the refugees or asylum seeker and etc. in Indonesia. And the third is I think the enumerator training is very important, because it's very difficult to capture or to find the refugees or asylum seeker or stateless people in Indonesia, because maybe some of them is afraid to meet the our employment or our enumerator, because they afraid if they give the information to us, they will have the problem. So our enumerator could be could be pelatihan apa? Could be give training for how to enumerator can compile the data and handle if there is distrustful and fearful respondent, so they can collect the data better, so we can we can capture all refugees in Indonesia. Maybe this is my response. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warai. And I see there's a hand from Dia. Would you like to say something? Oh, you unmute, sorry.
Sorry, can you hear my voice now?
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. Actually, it's a very interesting presentation, and I get some insight from the presentation. But however, it raised some question from me from your presentation and also representation and also explanation before. There are some you can call it challenges in collecting data on refugees and asylum seeker, because maybe usually they live in the non-permanent residential area, and it is difficult to be captured in general survey, especially in Indonesia. But however, if we collect data on the population census, that could be collected data on the refugees and asylum seeker, because we also cover the non-permanent residential area. And related to that matter, I would like to ask Chow whether UNHCR have some manual to collect data, because Ure said that it should be specific survey to collect information, because you will need comprehensive information on this refugee, right? So the first of all, do you have some manual how to collect data? So all of the country, maybe especially in the Asia and Pacific region, have some guideline and the same framework, the same questionnaire, the same set of questions that should be asked in the training, so the data could be compared from one country to another. So it could be apple to apple. If it's only based on the recently data in
Faith interview. By
I think maybe the concept could be different. It could not be compared from one country to another. And the second one, I would like to ask whether is there any country that already applied the specific survey to collect this kind of data? And also, is there any specific information that UNHCR would like to gather from this kind of survey? Why do you need this kind of information? And also, the policy, if you already get the data, what intervention, what policy that you will be done from this kind of data? I think that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, I think there are 3 questions. I will first try to answer the first one. I mean, thanks for the question. As I mentioned, there are international recommendations for statistics about for inclusion of the refugees, IDPs, and stateless people in the national survey and census. But also the recommendation is kind of a general framework. It's not very practical. And also, these recommendations are developed by the IGRIS, which stands for the Expert Group on the Refugee, IDP, and Stateless Statistics. Apart from those recommendations, IGRIS also developed some methodology paper about standardized refugee and IDP identification questions in surveys. And also, IGRIS group IGRIS also developed some compliance manual with some specific cases for including refugees in the national census, including refugees in household surveys, including and also including IDPs in the national census and the surveys. I will try to share the corresponding links in the chat shortly. You can find some practical guidance there. But we actually there are, as I mentioned, the context of the collecting data for refugees and the stateless are different from one to another. So you might find that some country examples might be suitable for your country, but you might still need to customize those guidance a little bit. And for that, I already heard the voice from BPS about the requirement, and UNHCR will definitely
through various digital
activities. I hope that answers the first question. The second one is about the other countries who already collected the data, right? As I mentioned, the modality of status activities on forced displacement and stateless people are different. In some countries, for example, in Indonesia, UNHCR is the one who are collecting and registering the refugees and some seekers. And UNHCR usually will share the data with the government. In some countries, it's the government is collecting the data with UNHCR support, or they do it alone in some developed countries and share the data back to UNHCR. If you're looking for some practical cases, for example, in Central Asia countries, I mean Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, etc., they included stateless people in their census in 2021 and 2022. And also in Pakistan, UNHCR supported the government to establish a registration system to register all of the Afghan refugees. And they also, based on the record, the Pakistan government issued a ID card for all of those refugees. And also in 2022, in Pakistan conducted a national house census and also included all of the Afghans and also identified the refugee population. There are a lot of more country examples also, maybe not just in the Pacific region, but mostly in African countries. And in the in the practical methodology paper I mentioned earlier, there are some examples already included there. If any national statistics offices are interested, particularly in some countries, please feel free to reach out and we can talk bilaterally, how to, which countries we have relevant materials. And the last one, why we are encouraging the government to collect data? Why not UNHCR do the job by ourselves? Of course, it is UNHCR's mandate to provide assistance and protection to the forced displaced people and the stateless people, but we cannot do it alone. We rely on the member state to provide better assistance and protection to those vulnerable population, and also, of course, UNHCR respect the local policies and the authorities to implement those assistance, because sometimes it's very UNHCR also has limited resources in many countries. So if we could include those vulnerable populations in the national systems, not just the statistical system, but the public
defenses,
the social well-being, etc., that will provide better assistance, and also it will be easy. It will be better for those people to be integrated in the society, and also it would be good to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, like leaving no one behind. And statistical inclusion is the start point or the entry point for the inclusion those vulnerable people in the social in the whole society, in the other system, because without the data we cannot start we cannot do the evidence-based policy making or program designing. So that's why we are looking forward to working together with the national statistics offices to build a good system to include those vulnerable people in the system of that country, and also as I mentioned, UNHCR. We realize that when we might not acted proactively on this before, but we are trying to engage with more and more colleagues from NSOs to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chao, and thank you, Dale, for the question. I believe I missed out on asking Ms. Tassani the questions that Petra asked. Ms. Tassani, would you like to take the question? And the question is on what's the greatest challenge in collecting statistics on these population? I think it would be interesting to hear from NSO of Thailand's experience as well.
Thank you for giving me opportunity to say about these topics. I want to say that it is a big topics, and it is the real scenario and topics for refugee and stateless person. From our country, you also know that we are working in this sector, and we are taking help from United Nations and other OIC organization. I think if we make a benchmark or a strategic roadmap for reducing refugee and stateless, we can give a better or best service for all of those human. And if rich man and developed country work together with our country, and if we work collaboratively, we can solve this issue without sharing the same good or bad things. We cannot we cannot think that we will be better good thing. So from my Bangladesh side, I want to invite all world's developed country also to take a collaborative work for human betterment and a good thing If we die, we will be happy if we work for our human for world peace and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing Bangladesh experience. It's very good to hear your experience and your views. I'm just gonna go back to Miss Tasani to let her share her experience as well, if you would like.
Okay. The challenge in collecting data on stateless person in Thailand does not wish to disclose their identity and does not want to enroll and questionnaire and language used for communication or interview data and remote area that are difficult to access. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very interesting to know as well. And hopefully some of the issues are being addressed in the upcoming census as well. We have another question, if I'm not mistaken, from Vinita, and that's for Chow. And she is saying, from the presentation, it was shown that the largest proportion of stateless people are in Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Thailand. Is there any explanation as to why they become stateless and where they mostly come from? So over to you, Chow.
Thanks for the question, Vinita. So as I mentioned, most of the stateless people, or the 70% of stateless people in Asia-Pacific region, are Rohingyas, which are from made from Myanmar. So that's why so there are still some a lot of stateless people stayed in Myanmar. Some of them are internally displaced. That's which makes Myanmar is one of the top country hosting stateless persons, and many of Rohingya refugees fled to Bangladesh and stayed in Cox's Bazar, which is the largest refugee camps in the world, and they are refugees, but they are also stateless, and so that's why Bangladesh is also one of the largest countries with stateless. And for Thailand, the stateless people are mainly the in situ stateless, means they stayed in the territory of Thailand, but they are not Thai citizens yet. They're not granted by the Thai nationality for now. So they are also they are recorded as stateless people. So that's why Thailand also has a lot of stateless people in the country. So in short, in Myanmar and in Myanmar there are displaced stateless and non-displaced stateless. In Bangladesh, the majorities are the displaced stateless, and in Thailand they are the non-displaced stateless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for that very clear, concise explanation. Just checking with Vinita if that's that answer your question. If not, you can come in and ask. Or if you have follow-up question, you're more than happy to come in and ask the question as well. We have another hand from Dia. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Chow has showed before that UNHCR support and also the variable government in each country so collect information about refugees in their population census or in their survey. However, in some countries, there are some limitation in the regulation maybe, so it's difficult to collect that information because some of them are considered as illegal maybe, so it is not recommended to collect data about the illegal person in that country. So, Chow, to solve that problem, is there any strategy that has been implemented in other country, or maybe is there any strategy that has been provided by UNHCR to solve that country? So each country could collect data on the refugee and asylum seeker in better quality. Thank you.
Thank you. That's also one of the critical questions for collecting data for the forced displaced and stateless people, because sometimes those populations are hosting a kind of illegal status in that country. I think the start point is UNHCR always respect the legal foundations from the state. So I mean, if they're illegal, I mean, from the legal perspective, I mean, they should. I mean, there's no legal system to collect those informations. But sometimes we, I mean, it's either UNHCR or the government could have some access partially for those for the data for those populations. I think for that one, actually, we don't have a kind of systematic mechanism for the population statistics for the illegal ones. I mean, only where we have some operational data for that. For example, for Afghanistan, we established, I mean, also work together with local authorities to work on some border monitoring activities and to try to monitor the people who cross the border legally and illegally. But I mean, as I mentioned, this is operational data. So it was not, you know, just shared publicly, but only shared with stakeholders who are relevant or who, you know, will do some policy making or the program designing for this group of people. So, as it really depends the context. But I mean, if there's a need, we can think about some operational system to collect those people, to collect this data for this group of people. And also, I mean, one thing always usually relevant to the illegal movement is the people trafficking, and UNHCR is also working on the the Bali process and to provide the guidance, policy guidance on this group of people. So and I mean, unfortunately for now, we don't have like the refugee status or stateless status like we have the kind of official international recommendations, but I mean, we will continuously working, even I mean, collecting data even for the illegal, for people with illegal status. Thanks.
Thank you, Chao, for answering that question and for sharing the relevant resources in the chat as well. What we'll do is that we'll share those linked in on our Asia-Pacific Stats Café webpage for this session as well, so everyone is able to go in and access those linked after this meeting as well. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so we've come to the end of the Stats Café session. It's been a fantastic Stats Café session, very interactive, and it's all thanks to the wonderful speakers that we have today, and also the fantastic participants who contributed as well. You will find the recording as well as the presentation materials and other relevant resources on our webpage. We will share them as soon as they're available. And of course, you're more than welcome to share those resources with colleagues, your colleagues who might not be able to attend today's session as well. I hope you all enjoy listening to our speakers today. And on behalf of the organizing team, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. And I hope to see you again at our next Stats Café session. Until then, have a wonderful week ahead, everyone. Take care.